Whoa.
That tends to happen when there are two connections in one location, like a phone and a computer.
Yeah. Riti, do you want to make me co-host and then I can help kind of manage?
I think that happened because of me, because I had it on my computer and I had to put it on my phone because I have to leave this cafe because they're closing right now.
Sure. Thank you for fixing that.
I'm having to walk. I'm going to turn my camera off for a couple of minutes while I walk out of here. I got to pack up my stuff. Sorry about that. They just closed on me.
No problem. Okay. I think we should get started.
Yeah.
Joanne, you're muted.
Maybe everyone could put their mute on.
I think I can mute everybody. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. This is Engineering 5, Engineering as a Profession. I am Preeti Brahma, and I am one of the instructors for the course. And in a moment, we will all introduce ourselves. This class is learning about what engineering is all about and to get excited about the various opportunities that are in front of you and to help you determine which type of engineering is right for you. And we're going to do this in a really fun way. We have projects, we have guest speakers, we have former alums from Cabrillo who've gone through the engineering program who will be coming in to speak with you to give you a really broad understanding of all of the different engineering professions. And in addition to that, another piece of this class is that to really gauge how to learn as a student and be successful throughout your college career, whether you're here at Cabrillo or wherever you transfer to. And so we've put this together and we're really excited for you all to be here with us. So as I mentioned before, I'm Preeti Brahma, and this is my first semester teaching at Cabrillo. My background is I have an undergraduate in mechanical engineering and a graduate degree in civil and environmental engineering. In addition to this class, I'm also teaching Engineering 25, which is all about engineering graphics and design. So I know that a couple of you are in that class because I recognize your names here and see you. And then maybe in the future, you'll be in that class next semester or next year. It's one of the classes you take as you pursue your engineering degree. What else can I say? I've been teaching for quite a while, I think almost 8 years. I also teach at Napa Valley College in their engineering department. So I really love teaching. I love being here. I'm looking forward to a great semester and getting to know all of you. And I think I'll pass it off to Carl.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carl Ewald. I have been teaching at Cabrillo for about 8 years almost now, or actually this is my 8th year, so 7 years. And then when I studied engineering, I studied at UC Davis and got a mechanical and materials science and engineering degree. And then I was really seduced by the materials labs. They were really like those kind of crazy mad scientist labs with wild equipment and chemicals everywhere and making cool stuff. So I stuck around and did both my master's and PhD there. And it was a really interesting period, especially in material science, because I liked video games back in the 80s. And so I taught myself how to program computers when I was in high school. So when I was in college, I really started to use those programming skills to build models like simulations and stuff that would simulate the materials systems that I was looking at. And then, because I like to take a lot of right turns in my life, when I finished up my PhD in materials science, I went and worked in the computer industry because it was the dot-com boom. And it was it was a really exciting, fun time. Worked in the computer industry until I shifted back to teaching, like I said, about 8 years ago. I taught a little bit in the 90s, both Funnily, I taught engineering at Napa Valley College, where Priti now teaches. And so I'm also really excited about this class. It's a lot of fun. And I just want everyone to know that it's also, you know, some of you may find that engineering is not for you, and this class is really important to discover that early in the process, you know, to find out like maybe you have more of a interest in science, or maybe you're more about pure math or something else, or maybe you want to do something else, business or some other part of, you know, the world. So success in this class is also learning like, I saw all of engineering and I've decided to do something else. And this is a really good time to help you understand that. So always check in with yourself. Always think about, am I really liking this and learning about this? Or is it sort of like, I would prefer to do something else? That's what we call flow, is when you're in that state where you're just like in the moment and time passes and you're like, wait, how did it get so late? And some of you will find engineering is that thing for you. And that is the coolest feeling. And it's super fun to then take those skills and devote the rest of your life to exploring that. And I'll pass it off to Joanne Panzardi, who is the chair of the engineering department and one of the lead wranglers of keeping all of this going.
Hey everyone, my name is Joanne. This is actually my 25th year at Cabrillo. I totally love what I do. I love teaching, and I love working with each engineering student and figuring out what the best engineering path is for them and what industry they want to work in and which university they'd like to transfer to. So I really love that part. I'll be meeting with you when we cover the Engineering 5, the engineering education section in Engineering 5. So mainly Priti and Carl will be your teachers, but when we cover engineering education, I'll be coming in to the classroom and empowering you to figure out what classes you need and know exactly what you need to take in order to transfer, because I want to give you the power. My background, I grew up in New York, and I wasn't sure what I was going to major in, but I thought about architecture, and I took a class similar to Engineering 5, and it was to learn about architecture, and I realized that I didn't really want to be an architect. And someone said, well, if you love math and science and you're more practical than arty, why don't you go into civil engineering? And that's what I wound up doing. So as Priti and Carl said, this is a class for you to explore all the different fields of engineering and see how you fit into it. Typically, most students do decide they want to go into engineering. They probably like math and science. Maybe they don't like math so much, but the application of math and science and creative problem solving is really what draws people, and certainly me, to engineering, because I get to use creativity and art. I get to use my math. I get to use my science skills. And I just really feel like I'm a problem solver and I like to create things. So I took that class in architecture, didn't really like it, wound up going into civil engineering. I got a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from university back east. And then the area of civil engineering I really love was geotechnical engineering, which is the area where you explore how strong the soil is in order to build something on it. It's keeping slopes stabilized so there's not landslides and things like that. So I went to University of Maryland, which is just outside Washington, D.C., and I got my master's degree. And since I always wanted to see what it was like to live in California, I wound up getting a job out here. And that's when I learned about the community college system. And that was totally awesome to me because I realized that I could focus on teaching and not doing research, which is what university professors usually do. Again, I love what I'm doing. Priti and Carl asked me, all three of us are going to be here today, but I'm only going to be here at the beginning, and that's why they're letting me talk a little bit longer than they are, because I need to take off. So what I'd like to do is introduce you a little bit to the engineering program at Cabrillo. I know probably a number of you, this might be your first semester. You may be taking CG 51 STEM, and you're in great hands. Christina and Lauren are STEM counselors, and they teach those classes, CG 51. So you'll get some really good insight from them too in the educational process. So I'm going to now share my screen and go over to a PowerPoint that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to whip through it. Okay, everybody good? Could I get a thumbs up? Everybody could see it. It says Cabrillo College Engineering. Thanks. Right now I can only see Marcus and Carl, but I see both of them gave me a thumbs up, so I'm going to assume everybody else can see it too. So first slide. One thing you are going to experience at Cabrillo is hands-on learning. It's hard to think about that now because we're in such a virtual setting, but Priti and Carl have really redesigned this course for a virtual setting, so you are going to get experience doing some hands-on design in this class. But I wanted to introduce you to the upper left. This is the materials lab, heat treating metals. This is the surveying lab. This is the concrete lab that's inside of the materials lab, another materials testing and circuits. So in your first 2 years of an engineering program, which is what we teach at Cabrillo, you're going to get a lot of hands-on learning, not only in the labs, but also in design. We have design projects in every single one of our engineering classes. This is a project where students had to design a device to shoot a water balloon about 100 feet and hit a target. This is a project where students had to design a 3D maze for a bowling ball. This is a project where students had to design musical equipment out of, odd materials. And this is a project where they had to design something to walk on water. So again, every engineering class you take, you will have a group design project. There's something called project-based learning, and what it is the words project-based learning. It's learning while you're doing a project, and certainly all those hands-on design projects are project-based learning. You may not have heard about service learning. Service learning is when you're learning something by doing service for someone else. For instance, these two projects, this one's a little hard to see, it was in the Sentinel, but students in one of our classes designed science exhibits for that Children's Museum, the Science Museum, and the Capitola Mall. So we do a lot of service learning projects where you're learning about engineering, doing a project to serve others. We have a makerspace on campus. There's a clean makerspace and a dirty makerspace, and they have 3D printers in there, laser cutters. They have tons of stuff that you have access to. We also have this awesome STEM center. Right now, because we are all online, the STEM Center is virtual, but they offer free tutoring. And Carl and Priti and I will tell you what those links are, so you could actually go in there and get tutoring in any math, science, or engineering class. But this is a photo of what it looks like. It's a 5,000 square foot space that has computers along the outside. It has textbooks. It has free tutoring. There are rooms where you could go in and study with friends. People run workshops in there. It's a great place. We also in the engineering department hire tutors and TAs. So once you start finishing some classes and you're still at Cabrillo, you could be a tutor, let's say in Carl's materials class or my statics class or Priti's engineering graphics class. We also have a ton of engineering clubs. I don't know how active they'll be this semester, but I do know that one student, Jenna, who actually may be in this class, I know she is reviving the Engineering Society Club. So this is the Robotics Club, this is the Women in Science and Engineering Club, and this is the Engineering Abroad Club. These are just some of the clubs that Cabrillo has. We also have an Engineering Abroad Club, which is really amazing, and during January, we take a group of students to Costa Rica or Guatemala to work on an engineering project for a community. So in essence, it's a service learning project. It's an engineering project that's serving a community. This year, we've already picked the delegates for this year. And because of the online learning, we're not going to Central America in January. Instead, we're going to be going in the summer. But certainly, if you're interested, you could apply in the spring to be on next year's abroad program. We also bring students to engineering conferences. The photo on the right is a bunch of students. We went up to Seattle to go to the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineering Conference, which is an amazing place. We also went to ASEE, American Society of Engineering Education, where this group wrote a paper and gave a presentation on the success of our Engineering Abroad program. Next one, we take students on tours. We went to Tesla. We went to Google. We go to a lot of the local companies too. There are a lot of engineering local companies in Santa Cruz. Most of them are pretty small, but big ones are Joby, Plantronics, Granite Construction, Granite Rock. And so many of the engineering students who went through Cabrillo and then transferred and now working in engineering are working in Santa Cruz County. And they actually donate a lot of money for scholarships for engineering students. And they also sponsor students in internships and give us tours. Here is a photo of some of our alumni. We had a big alumni gathering about 4 years ago. And then we also had a gathering of some of the women in engineering. We also have internships and research experiences. This is Kalika and this is Brandon. Brandon's in his last year at Cabrillo and he's been working as a mechanical engineer. Kalika just graduated from San Jose State and she was working in civil engineering in the county, and now she's moving up to Davis with her bachelor's degree. So we also place students in internships and research experiences. We haven't done it in a few years, but we have been going out to the elementary and middle and high schools and doing engineering projects for them, and that's been really fun. And in the summer, we run a girls and boys in engineering program. It's a summer camp. That's also cool if you want to get involved in. So these are all things where, besides taking classes at Cabrillo, you could be involved in clubs, work with the community. It's all really cool stuff. Other community things that we've done, we held a design and innovation event at the MA, the Museum of Art and History. We did an open STEM forum in our building. This was a cardboard boat competition that was run by a local engineering organization that we participated in. And then I mentioned scholarships. We give about $50,000 a year in scholarships to students, and definitely look into FAFSA. You probably all know about financial aid. And then we work really hard to accommodate every student. If you have certain needs, then you need to get those needs met. And some needs are like dyslexia, some are HDA. Okay, Carl and Priti, tell me what it is.
HDAD?
Yeah, I may have that actually, but was never diagnosed because I am a little hyper.
No, I think it's ADHD.
Thank you.
There we
Sorry,
go.
we're blowing it, but there are experts on campus where you get assessments, and then whatever things you need in the classroom to learn or outside the classroom, we provide that to you as engineering faculty. And then here we are, a little goofy, our faculty. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing now and just say, you know, welcome to Engineering 5, welcome to Cabrillo, and I'm gonna step out now unless anybody has a direct question for me. Oh, let me also say, my office hours are Monday through Friday from 1 to 2. Monday through Friday from 1 to 2. And I picked that time because based on all the engineering students' schedules in terms of their math, science, physics, and engineering courses, 12:30 to 2:30 is the biggest slot of free time for students unless you're taking a general ed class. So certainly you will be able to meet with me at least one time during that Monday to Friday 1 to 2 p.m. slot, okay? Although I won't be here tomorrow, okay? So any questions for me, or I'll turn it back over to Carl and Prati. Okay, I don't see anything. Have a great day and enjoy the class, and I'll see you soon. Okay, thank you, bye.
Thanks, Joanne. Oh, she's gone. If you actually think of something you want to ask Joanne about any of the material she's covered, we can try to answer that, or you can type your question into the chat and we can get the answers for you next time. So I think you've had a moment to hear about us, and what we'd like to do is give you a chance to learn about each other as well. we have created a website, or I guess everyone has their Canvas site, and this would be yours. And so what we're going to take a moment to do, and I'm just kind of going over here to your discussion board, is we'd like to go into, send you all into breakout rooms for about 10 minutes where you can get to know each other a little bit. And answer the prompts that are listed here. So kind of get a sense of what field of engineering you might be interested in, find something in common between all of you that is other than your interest in engineering, find something unique about all of you. And amongst yourselves, we'd really like for you to exchange contact information. This is really useful, especially if like you miss a class and you want to find out what happened from a peer, or you want to collaborate on some projects together, or, talk about things. So take a moment to exchange contact information. And then when you come back here, before you come back to the main Zoom session, if you wouldn't mind posting the answers to these prompts, numbers 1 through 4 only, not your contact information. Just keep that amongst yourselves. That way we can then also learn about all of you as well. So just one person from the group can post for the entire group. And once you're in the breakout rooms, I will post this prompt as well. I'll send that to you via message, unless you want to actually bring up the Canvas site on your end and have that ready to go. That would be great too. Carl, are we good?
I think so. And if we're not, I'm sure we'll figure a way through.
Okay, so we have, I think, 42 participants, and we wanted to make breakout rooms of about 4 people each. So let's see, I've created rooms, and yeah, I think that works out pretty well. So I'm going to open all rooms. We're going to give you 10 minutes. You'll have 30 seconds, a 30-second warning to come back. If you finish early, you're welcome to come back early. Okay, see you soon. And if this is your first time using a breakout room, you should be getting a prompt to join over. So click that join button. All right. I think has everyone gone over? I can't tell. I'm going to
one person.
Okay. Yes. So I was saying, I think we will start now with going over the class through our Canvas site and making sure that everybody knows how to navigate that site. So I'm going to share my screen and show you our Canvas site from what you could see in if you were looking at it. So let me just pull this over. So this is our homepage. One of the more important things right under the homepage is announcements. And this is where we'll be posting information for the class. And you can see here that we've posted some relevant stuff towards what's happened in the last couple weeks, and especially like the Zoom information. So you can actually set this up so that these announcements come to your email. And so if you haven't done that already and you're interested in doing that, we can provide information on how to do that. So if you found that you haven't seen these announcements before, but you'd like to get those sent to your email, we'll send out instructions for that. The other thing that's important here is our modules, and this is where we'll be posting what is relevant for you to look at every week. So prior to the start of class, we had created a week 0 orientation module for everybody to get started. And it had a lot of information about us, the class, how to use Canvas, what to get in terms of required materials, and all of that. And I'll be going through some of this in a little bit as well. I just wanted to show you that this week, we also have a module posted, and we'll be continuing to add to this after that. And what you may want to look at here is that there's some homework and a quiz. And so this is where you'll go to connect to those things, to submit your homework as well as to take quizzes on the reading and materials. So that's our modules. And then discussions we already looked at. And we will have discussions posted throughout the semester as well. So one that's open right now, and we'd love to hear from all of you, is the icebreaker, where you get a chance to give us some information about yourself. So also that the link to that will often be found in the modules as well. Let me see. So let's go through the week 0 module a little bit. About our class. So these are the topics that we'll be covering during the semester. And, the order may change. We're trying to line up some speakers so that we can give you a more broad view of like where certain disciplines can take you. So, but this is the plan of what we'd like to cover during the class. And right under here are our student learning outcomes, where, it talks exactly about what you'll be taking away from the course. And this is what you should be able to do at the end of the course. So I'll give you a moment to just read that. Next, I want to show you, we have our bios here, but what's more important is that we also list how you can reach us. Carl and I and Joanne all have this information here. So we all have office hours, and they're listed here. And you can also use the Canvas inbox to email us, or you can email us directly. And I have my information there, and I think Carl has his information right here as well. And Joanne's is further down. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions at all, and you can email any one of us or all of us. We'll do our best to get back to you within a couple days. Okay. So I mentioned already the announcements. The Canvas inbox also allows us to email you, but I think if we do send out an email, it'll be probably just via email. Let's see, what else does it say here? Yeah, that's about it. All right, so then this goes through Canvas, and I'm kind of giving you a little overview of Canvas, but if you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to read through the information and getting started with Canvas. So for this class, what's required is this book here, and we'll be using this regularly every week, and your homework assignments come out of it. So you'll need to obtain a copy of it. It is available through the Cabrillo bookstore. If you haven't already ordered it, you can order it there, and you can actually set up a time to pick it up, or they will mail it to you. And if you don't want to go through them, several online providers are also selling it. For the class, there will be some supplies that you'll need, and we'll try to let you know a couple weeks in advance of what that will be. So just as an example, in one of the topics I'll be leading, we'll need some modeling clay. So if you happen to have that handy, you might want to pull it out. Something like that, something that you would have already in your home. But we'll give you a list a couple weeks before, so you have time to gather them together. This is a 3-hour per week class, so it's really important that you are prepared to spend the time to work on this course. And a good part of that is actually working out of the book and doing the homework assignments and quizzes. So just know that we're expecting you to spend time outside of class working towards the goals of the class. Okay. That's about it here. And, oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, yeah, if there are questions, please go ahead and ask.
A 3-hour per week class, does that entail about the meetings that we have, or is that the workload? Because I thought the workload I read was like 7 hours or something.
Right. So the 3 hours per week is what we meet. And then in addition to that, you have about 6 hours of work outside of class.
Okay, and that's once a week, correct?
We meet only once a week, yes, for 3 hours.
3-hour session, okay.
Yeah.
A kind of general rule of thumb for college classes is you would have basically, if you have a 2-unit class, and this is a little complicated because it's a 2-unit class, but it's only 2/3 of the semester. So the idea is for every hour of lecture, you should expect to have 2 hours of work outside the class. And that's completely, that'll vary from week to week, but we just don't want you to have the false expectation that everything will happen in class and that you can really be successful without carving some time into your schedule to, read the book and think through the assignments and participate at that level too. But it varies how much time you'll actually need or actually spend.
Are there any other questions? So that actually leads us right into participation and attendance. So we do meet 3 hours a week every Thursday. And as Carl mentioned, this is the class is sort of shortened. It doesn't spread over the entire semester. So we actually are going to meet until every Thursday through November 12th. And then we don't have class after that. And it's really important that you are in class because 40% of your grade is your attendance and participation in class. And every class period, there will be participation expected of you. So we just want to make sure that's really clear at this point in time, that that's the expectation from you. You also need to be on time. I think you saw that we asked everybody to type their name into the chat, and that's for our attendance records. And a little bit after the start, I typed in a time and asked folks who are just joining us to type their name in after that. So that's a late after we've typed in the time. That's after that, we'll be marking you as late. And you don't want to be late because a lot of the important things happen right at the beginning of class. So keep that in mind. 2 latenesses are equal to 1 absence. Let's see. If you do plan to drop, make sure that you do that. Don't expect us to drop you if you decide to stop attending class. It's your responsibility to drop the class if you decide not to come anymore. Okay. Yes, submitting your work regularly is part of your active attendance. So that's what we're talking about is the discussion posts and the homework assignments and quizzes. So, and it's really important to stay on top of things. We only meet once a week, so you don't want to fall behind on the reading or any of the work. If something happens and you find yourself falling behind, it's really important that you reach out to us right away and we can try to work with you to figure out how to get you caught up so that you have a successful time in this class. All right. So grading, as I mentioned already, the class participation is 40%. The assignments, which are those homework assignments and discussion board posts and things like that, are 40%. We'll be doing projects in a lot of the classes, and they'll take place during the class period itself, as well as there may be some work that you need to do outside of class, and that's worth 10%. And there is a final project in this class, which is also worth 10% of your grade. We would like you to turn in assignments on time, but if that's not possible, you have a 2-day grace period to get your assignments in. During that time, you lose 10% per day per grade that it's late, and then after 2 days, we won't accept it at all. I think you're all familiar with the grading scale that's shown here. So this is the same one we use. Just look and see where we're going. Grades. So one thing to note is that we have a grades link here, and grades will be posted there for your assignments and quizzes and stuff like that, projects. I don't plan to use the do the weighting of the grades in Canvas. I tend to do that outside of Canvas. So if you look at your grade in Canvas, it may not accurately represent what your grade actually is. Carl, do you do the grades in Canvas or outside?
Generally, I try to make sure that I usually am able to make Canvas do the work for me. So
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe Carl will show me how to do the weighting, and then we'll make that happen. Academic integrity is very important. No matter what class you take at Cabrillo, honesty in your work is critical. So please read over the academic integrity policies that we've posted here so that you understand what is considered your own work and what isn't. Of course, in engineering, there's a lot of collaboration, but at the end of the day, you need to be submitting your own work. And you can read through the rest of that here. Let me just see where we are in the module. I think Joanne mentioned this earlier, if you need accommodations of any sort, there's a letter that Cabrillo should provide, and we would really appreciate it if you get that to us so that we know how best to accommodate you in the class. And I think there's a lot of information about accessibility here that you can look towards as well, and under the student support services. Regarding tech support, we're virtual this fall. I know you know that. So, having a good connection is going to be very useful to you. Obviously, you all have a way to dial in today. If you don't have a laptop, Cabrillo is loaning them out, and they are also providing hotspots. So please feel free to follow the instructions I think we sent out earlier in the announcements to get yourself a laptop or a hotspot if it's needed. So that is let me see, that's kind of how we navigate through Canvas and what we've got posted. Are there any questions on any of that?
Hi, yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm curious, are study groups a good idea for this class at all?
I would say that study groups, and it's going to be more like this class is not like one that is just all about digesting and then like working material, like a math class where you get content, then you work it, and then and having those study groups. There will be times in this class where most of it is, sort of reading the book and then applying it to your own life. The way I like to think about, the book and about, engineering in general is, I think if you really think about what is the most complicated, most sophisticated machine that you know about, that you know a lot about, it's yourself. And the book is really aimed at, say, not making cookie cutter students, but helping every student that's in this class and every type of student find their way through engineering. So in some cases, it's not about recalling information, it's about relating the information in the book to your own experiences and your own, like what works for you is the only thing that you should really be focusing on, as opposed to just being able to list a bunch of information. But there are, you know, there are going to be certain project things that are group things, and there are maybe in the midst of like one of the projects that you may want to, there may be a little math component that you want to work with other people. But I would say generally that's probably not going to be as helpful as just being, as focusing mostly on your own, on reading and thinking and reflecting and evaluating what works for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, Carl, did you want to add anything about Canvas, the syllabus, or the grades?
The only thing I would add is that, you know, we're, you know, making this up as we go along with you. So if there are things that aren't working, you know, we can change, because we're, you know, we're building this course to be online, and, you know, we may do a project and find out with you guys, wow, that was a terrible way to try to do this project. And so, you know, be open and free with your, you know, expressing what's working for you and isn't working for you. I'll share just a little bit about my philosophy of teaching. And I want to share this because my philosophy of teaching changed very significantly between when I taught in the 1990s and when I started teaching again. And that all happened because I started to work in industry. And what I discovered in industry is that having an entire team, 100, you know, introverted, super genius people, is actually can be really difficult, because a lot of engineering is communicating, and a lot of, and it's also like sort of a vulnerable, it's about like expressing vulnerability. So I worked with it. Most of the engineering team when I was a tech lead was in Romania. I literally was, you know, half a world away from my team. And what I discovered very quickly is that they didn't have to share the problems that they were having with me, and I wouldn't be able to really know that they were having problems. And I saw other teams failing, and so I said to everyone, I want to know what's not working for you, where you're blocked, what's stopping you. And that 24-hour cycle where I worked for 12 hours, or, you know, I worked for when they were asleep, allowed us to get in this rhythm where they ran into a problem, I was able to help get them unstuck, and then they could work. But that only works if you share, if you are vulnerable and say, I'm stuck on this, I don't know how this works, you know, and I want you to think about this class in the same way. We're not gatekeepers trying to keep, you know, people out of the profession. We are absolutely trying to help and nurture your process through this class and through the entire engineering program. And so if you have, you know, and if you have something that pops up for you, you have a life circumstance or something that gets in the way, and sometimes that will be like you have to drop the class or you have to take a grade that you don't want, but that's not you. That's your circumstance. And don't let those things get confused, and know that, you know, we're here to help you. Engineering teams aren't built of people that if you're a day late on a project, you get fired. What the real most important thing that a manager or a lead wants in an engineering team is, as soon as someone knows they're stuck or not on track, that they raise their hand and say, I need help. I'm going to miss the deadline if I don't have help. And then you can respond. And that's how engineering teams work. You know, it's like you have to be open. And so don't be afraid to share. And even if you have to do it just one-on-one with us, you know, we don't want you to have to share in front of the class, like circumstances, but share with us. And we'll really, really, really try to find a way to help you get through and to help solve that. And like I said, sometimes that isn't, it means you have to take this class at another time. You have to, to be successful, you're going to have to manage something. But that's what we're here for. And it's important to us that you know that there have been hundreds, maybe even thousands of students just like you sitting in those chairs that are now engineers. You can do this. You may not want to do it, and that's your choice, but you can do it. I know you can. You already earned your place by being in this class. And so make the most of it. And a lot of that will be sharing and being vulnerable with us so that we can help. All right, that's my sermon for the day. Now I will just take a moment, and I want to, this is kind of, let me find the screen I want to share with you. Here it is. Oh no, I just lost it. It's all right, I can get to it. Maybe. Where did it go? Too many windows. Okay, there I got my window back. I wanted to focus on this little section, the student learner outcomes, right? And this is sort of the contract that we have with the, with the state of what this class is going to cover and what you will get out of the class, right? But it's kind of, it's not really that relatable. Or maybe it's full of jargon or full of words that you don't really understand. But so we really want to do something where we try to craft this class to give you what you want out of it as well. And so the next kind of little exercise we're going to do is we're going to break out into breakout rooms again. And I just want to hear about the things that you want to get out of this class. And so you're going to have 10 minutes to kind of just talk about, what your expectations are, what you want to learn, do you want to talk to engineers? Do you want to work on projects? Do you want to know about X or Y or Z? And we will do our best, if we know now, to, get that into the class. And in some cases, we'll have to say, no, this is the wrong class for that. It'll be in another class. But again, it's just to go from this really kind of lofty, there are 3 things you get out of this class, to something that is more like breaking it down into little pieces. And so we can make sure to give you what you want out of this class. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so what we'll do is, Preeti, do you want to break into do you want to go back to your same groups, or do you want to go to a different group of people? Any thoughts? Do we still have those breakout rooms already set up?
I still have the breakout rooms, but
let's mix it up.
I thought we could mix it up so I can recreate them and send everybody to different ones. So that would mean that when you first get in there, introduce yourselves again. Maybe you want to exchange some contact info again, so you get to know more people in the class. Carl, does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. And then remember the thing that you're just trying to brainstorm with the people around you is, really this question that I'll type in here, which is, what do you want to get out of this class? And that could just be a list of bullet points. And then what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll come back together, and we'll allow people, you don't have to repeat the same bullet point that someone else already said, but we'll just go through and make a list of all those things and then note them in Canvas so we can check them off as we explore them. Or we can give you the sad news that that won't be happening. All right, thanks. We'll see you.
All right. See you in a few. I'm going to sorry?
I think we're going to give you like about 10 minutes, I think, in the breakout room to do this. And that allows you time to get to know a few more people. And part of that is, we want you to realize how important is your peers. Someone asked about, those study groups. They may not be super important for this class, but they're absolutely important to doing well in engineering school. So, All right, enough coffee.
All right. We'll see you in 10 minutes. And if you are done early, feel free to come back.
Just go through the list. Just go through the list that you have and pick the one most unique item. And I'll just make a list and then I'll post it on Canvas for you. Does that make sense? So I'm going to let you guys just try to unmute and, you know, see how that goes. I know I might have to manage it if it gets too hairy.
What?
Hairy is an old person's term for when things get crazy.
Oh, thank you. So one thing that I kind of want clarification on throughout this course, like kind of the day-to-day life of an engineer, what they go through. Is it more hands-on field work testing, or is it just rigorous 3D modeling and a lot of computer work?
Yeah, got that. And we certainly will have, that's something we really will try to make sure that you will get.
I know for myself and a couple other people in my group, we haven't taken any engineering classes, and we're just trying to like narrow down our major and learn more about all fields of engineering.
So,
like your flag.
Thank you.
I'll clean up my typos later. Let's make this bigger. Who wants to go next?
So my group was saying that they wanted to make sure that they were getting into the right field or explore the field that they thought they were interested in. Make sure it's the right choice.
And I'll just say one thing, because we certainly will try to do that. But the good news is that, you know, in the first year, if you'll have a lot of shared classes, and so it'll be fairly easy to shift from one engineering field to another as you in your first, you know, as you start to go through. So you'll have a little bit of time to make that choice. And it won't be like devastating if you decide a year in that you want to shift your field. All right, next one.
Professor, I've got one that's a little different. I'm wondering if at some point in this class we can discuss, you and the other instructors discuss the actual no BS environment of the engineering fields, like the camaraderie, day-to-day life with middle management type positions. Because I've worked different jobs where, you know, everything's sunshine and it's a really good sell and you really want to do it, and you get in and discover that it's super stressful. The work's not what you thought it was going to be. So do you think you and the other instructors could elaborate a little more on like your various steps in your journey and what you've experienced along the way, so we have an idea of what we're getting into better?
Yeah, I certainly will. I think we'll end up sharing some stories like that. I just shared with a student a story about graduate school the other day, and it certainly, you have to find the right fit, right? Because, and so I think one of the lessons is that as you talk to engineers or as you learn about different companies, understand that companies have a culture and that culture is different. So if you don't feel like you fit in the culture where you end up, there is a variety, and you know, you can find one. But yeah, we'll definitely try to cover some of that for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I had something that Cameron said in our group that was different. He said he wants to learn about how different fields of engineering apply to like daily life in the world? I think that's what Cameron said. He can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's kind of a game of telephone because you're saying what someone said that then I'm typing in my own words. So, but I definitely know what you're getting at there. And certainly some of the assignments will allow an exploration of that. And yeah, that will definitely be kind of covered. Other ones that came up.
Yeah, I've got one. Our group's main question's kind of already been answered, but I was curious, since there's associate's degrees for engineering technician and then other associate's degrees, and there's also bachelor's, it'd be good to kind of know what type of jobs will be available if you just get an associate's degree versus what type of jobs you'll have available if you go the full way and get a bachelor's degree.
And I'm going to go ahead and say engineering versus engineering tech here. Because I definitely have a unit on exploring that for sure.
Cool, thank you.
What else?
Will that mean that there's also a difference between getting a bachelor's and a master's?
So a master's is kind of stacks on top of a bachelor's degree. And there's a couple of different kinds of master's degrees. There's more like an extended coursework master's or more of a research master's degree. And again, we'll go into more detail later, but that's kind of the structure there. Other stuff that came up.
I know it sounded for me that everyone seems to be, at least in my group, an engineering major. And so they're just trying to figure out what they want to do with that. And for me, I am not an engineering major. And I wanted to see how any one of these types of engineering could apply to the major I have chosen.
Do you mind sharing your major?
I'm a business major.
Okay. Put something like that in for sure. Something else that came up, other things that you're hoping to get out of this class. What about anyone hoping to get something physical out of this class? In other words, do you want to make things?
Absolutely.
All right. And make something. Oops. I have a tendency to hit that button a lot. What about working in groups? Is anyone looking forward to working in groups?
To go along with that, we were saying how I was saying that I was really looking forward to taking this class and doing a lot of hands-on projects and designing things, and that it's kind of disappointing that we're sitting here at our homes and not together in a classroom, because I know it would be a lot more fun to actually physically be there doing things, but I'm sure you guys have adapted it to make it interesting in a different way, given the circumstances.
Yeah, we're trying to, but the good news is that your hands are attached to you. So you can do hands-on stuff. You might have to find other hands in your household or people around you to help you with certain, like if you need more than one hand. But otherwise, we are trying to make sure that you can work together in groups and still do, hands-on projects. you may not ever have the physical parts together, but that's like I was saying with my, the team that I worked with, because I talked about the team in Romania, but I also had a team in Russia and a team in Spain. And working sort of distant from one another on one thing is possible and is actually really common in engineering. So I think we can do that. And certainly as you continue through this and as we start to learn how to function back in physical spaces together as the COVID, impacts start to be mitigated, certainly in your Cabrillo career as an engineer, you'll be able to do more group stuff.
I actually have a quick follow-up question about that. So for some classes this semester, they do allow some labs or face-to-face. Is there the possibility that for our class, or we might be able to do sort of small socially distanced labs in groups together for projects, or will it all be via Zoom?
At this point, we have committed to the college that we would not bring students together in that environment. And part of that had to do with because our group work is kind of close work, because you're potentially building something where one person's holding it, another person securing it, that we just felt like that could introduce another obstacle that we would just constantly be saying things like, oh, just this one time I'll get within 6 feet. And then pretty soon we're all just in close contact. So that was our big concern about that. But again, like if you live in a household with other people, I encourage you to share and work with other people that are already in your bubble. And even if they're not engineering students, and even if they're not, not in your same age group, they could be older than you or younger than you. Part of this class is the sharing aspect, and part of it is to, it is hard for us not to be able to kind of celebrate people's things that people make, and like, the catastrophes that happen when our expectations and time management don't meet, and something goes horribly wrong. We'll see how to do that. I don't know that we can really enforce that, but I do encourage you to share with the people around you kind of your experience in making stuff, and stay in touch with people.
Thank you.
That was a long-winded no, but I felt no was just too hard.
Carl, can they type into the chat too some ideas? Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And maybe people already have one. I don't have it up. Here we go.
I have it up. I haven't seen anything yet, but just wanted to open that up to folks. Some people may not have the ability to speak on the phone, or maybe shy.
Yeah. Did I somehow write on my screen? I guess I did. So I will put this list up on Canvas. And so as you encounter things that you want, it'll be on an editable page for the students to make changes to. So you can just add things to it. I like to tell people that I'm the slowest thinker in the room, and that all of my good ideas come after the meeting is over. And I also have the mantra that my first ideas are my worst ideas. That you start to refine your ideas over time, and sometimes you have to let go of your first one because your second one is actually better. So feel free to keep connecting with us and letting us know things that you're hoping to get out of this, and we'll try to make sure to get some exposure to those things. So let me see where we are in our agenda. I think we are going to take another break. And again, this is a pretty well-established practice that human beings function really well when they work for a period of time and then relax, like let their mind kind of be free of that task and move back and forth. So we're going to try to follow that advice in this class and go ahead and take another break. So get up, have a drink of water, have a snack, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes. Sound good? All right.
Carl, did you go to a breakout room?
Every single time I go.
Oh, I didn't know that. I had no idea that was happening. Sorry. Okay. Francesca and Daniel, you'll need to push the join button. Hi, Danny. Are you just joining us? Danny, are you there?
Yeah, it kicked me out.
It kicked you out. Okay. Let me put you in a room, okay?
All right.
There you go. And Daniel, you're supposed to go to a room already. Are you having some problems getting there?
It looks like maybe Daniel only has chat, so you might need to type your response. I don't see that you have audio.
How can you see that?
In the participants list?
Oh, yeah. Okay, right. Oh, I see. So he doesn't have audio or video. Okay.
Well, I guess a mic, really. I'm assuming that he can hear us. Blink 3 times if you're out there.
Daniel, I'm going to chat him. Are you there?
Oh, that's
okay. Oh, there he went. Okay. Okay. So when they come back, we do need to talk about the 2 different Canvas sites. And I calculated that we need 6 students to move to section 2 with the 4 wait lists. So I think Joanne had said, why don't we ask for volunteers? Because it seems like there are some friends here that probably want to stay in the same class.
Yeah, and I think we'll try to accommodate that.
Yeah, before we end the class, we need to do that.
Yeah, and I mean it's already 6:20 basically.
I know. So there's no slideshow happening.
Not today.
Why did I spend so much time on it? It's okay.
It'll probably come in handy on some day when we're like, what do we want to do today? Well, I mean, at some point we'll get to that, right?
Well, actually, each one of these slides comes into another class anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And what was interesting is that they did wind up telling us about their fields of engineering, and I felt like, oh, I should just be typing this in. They've got so many interests already that they were saying. So
yeah, but a lot of that is documented on Canvas, or it'll be in their homeworks, and we'll have another point to
touch on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to the bottom of that thread of how the rice deal is going. But I was just dying where it was like the truck driver wasn't going to leave and everyone's on the phone and first there was yelling, and then there was food, and then
Do you remember hearing the story of the woman who, instead of ordering 40 rolls of toilet paper, ordered like 40 pallets of toilet? Do you remember hearing this story? It was really early on in March, when the whole pandemic shutdown happened. And your story just kind of reminded me of that. And she was like, oh my God. And then there was a toilet paper shortage, and this woman had so much of it. And it was like, oh no, that sucks for her and for everybody else.
What happened with the knife?
Oh, well, so what was interesting is that, so one shop was like, I can only sell it for this. And then we'd go to the next shop and we'd be like, oh, we don't want to pay that. That's what the shop next door said. We are only willing to pay this much. And then they would run out and go ask the person. So we didn't know which shop actually owned the knife, but they were all sort of haggling together. And we wound up only paying like somewhere between what we were willing to pay and what they wanted. Like we found a middle ground. But it was only going to happen in one shop. They're like, don't leave. We are going to get this for you. And then they did the haggling between the other shops. It was so bizarre. I was like, wait, there's only one knife that all three of you are selling? How does that work? You know?
That's such an interesting story, because I have a friend who, he works in the software industry still, and he was working on this project that was basically allowing small merchants in India to aggregate their supplies into one virtual store. That sounds exactly like that. So it would be like...
Oh, 6 minutes went fast. They're all coming back.
Cool. Let's see if we have posts.
Not in section 3.
That actually kind of makes it easier to share, I suppose.
I don't see any in section 2 either.
Okay.
Am I connected to the internet? What's going on? Do you see them?
Maybe we should just ask people.
Yeah, we'll need to.
Did any of you guys post your shared definition in the Canvas discussion?
I just sent it 1 second ago.
Okay, so you're just getting to that. And the reason I just kind of want to, I was just going to kind of share them with the group by reading them. That's one of the reasons I was hoping they would be up there. So I'll just refresh and then take a look. And if you haven't done it yet, if someone in your group can organize to get it up there, that would be great.
Just replying to that box that was given is the thing, right? That's it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so I'll just start kind of reading them off, and then at the end we'll kind of explore some other people's definitions as well. So we have one here, which is an amalgamation of math, science, and art. It is the link between designing, architecture, and building, construction, problem solving. Okay, that's one. We have engineering is making stuff, mechanically, chemically, etc. Engineering is understanding the framework and makeup of how they all work together. Engineering is using scientific knowledge to innovate, solve problems, and make sense of how things work in the world. And then we have another one here. We feel like all types of engineering try to solve its daily problems by innovating and creating using math and science. Let me see if any others came in while I was reading. We did have a couple others that came in. Engineering is a combination of math, physics, chemistry, where we take scientific knowledge to create, innovate, and improve. I think engineering is creating something or improving upon something that has already been created. I'll give this one more refresh and see if anything else came in.
And I have a couple in section 3.
Oh, okay. I'll let you read those when I finish these up. A collective of peers at reaching a goal using math and science to design, build, and solve problems. Finding a scientific answer to real-world problems, using science and math to interact with the world around us, being faced with a problem and using critical thinking to solve it. And then I think that's it from section 2. Do you want to read the ones from section 3?
Sure. To develop something new or to modernize something old. The integration of math and science to find and solve a problem. It is used to design and make life more accessible. It also brings together a community of smart people to solve and build off of a problem. An engineer is someone that creates, builds, thinks outside the box, doesn't settle, and strives for the best outcome and creation. Engineering is working with engines, making the best out of what you can have. And engineering is the practice of applying mathematics, science, and creativity to help solve world problems through making everything. This process encompasses ideas, planning, group work, and constructing. And then one more, engineering is the utilization of mathematics, science, and communication for designing, construction, building, and problem solving.
All right, so I mean, what were some common themes there? Well, certainly the connection to science and the connection to math and sort of those as key aspects of modern engineering. We also had some, creativity gets involved. We also saw that it's a social thing. In other words, engineering is done in groups. Engineering is done also to help solve big problems or community problems, things that are not just individual problems. What did I miss? Oh, improving things, right? That was another thing that came up, was just taking something that maybe already exists, but improving it. And that can be like improving its performance, maybe reducing its price, making it more accessible to more people. I have a question, and we don't have to break into groups for this, but do you think engineering changes over time? Do you think it is engineering is the definition kind of stays static or not?
It definitely changes over time.
Okay, so we definitely got an answer that it changes over time. And do you want to describe like what that means to you and why you think it changes over time?
Because 1,000 years ago, there were engineers building rock walls, but there were probably no computer engineers.
Yeah, so definitely the fields of engineering change. And I think the technology that's available, but I think also like some of the most core parts of engineering do stay the same.
Yeah.
Has anyone, I'm going to type something into the chat. PV equals nRT. Does anybody know what that's called?
Isn't that, I recognize that from chemistry, but I can't recall it.
It's the, yeah. Does anybody else remember? You definitely do remember it. That's good, because you recognize it.
Gases, I feel like.
Yeah, it's the ideal gas law.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so in the ideal gas law, what does P stand for? Does anyone know?
Pressure?
Pressure. What does V stand for?
Volume.
Volume. What's N?
Isn't it a constant?
It's it is generally in a closed system a constant. It is it's what's called the number of moles. It's like how much gas do you have, right? So it's like, and again, if anyone is here and this is kind of like, I didn't learn that, that's not the important lesson that I'm trying to show here. So N is like how much stuff you had. Like if you want to measure it in gallons, you could say like or cubic feet. I have 10 cubic feet of air. And so I talked about, you know, the volume, 10 cubic feet, and that there's a certain number of atoms that encompasses. What about R? R is a constant. That's the gas constant. And what's T?
Is it time maybe?
Temperature?
Temperature.
Temperature. All right. So if I rearrange this equation, right, I use some algebra and I write it like this instead. I say, well, I'm going to write it as T is equal to P times V divided by N times R. That's the same equation, right? It's just rearranged.
Yeah.
But okay, and so the scientists basically discovered these relationships. In other words, if you change pressure and volume, and you're careful about how you do that, you can change, what will be the result of changing the pressure and the volume?
Could change
If you're increasing pressure and volume, you can increase the temperature, or decreasing will decrease the temperature.
Exactly. And so for me, like the core difference between a scientist is a scientist finds out that relationship, PV equals nRT. And an engineer says, it's hot. I wish it was cooler. So I'm going to use this equation to develop a machine that will change the temperature. And that's where we got refrigeration. That's where we got, you know, air conditioning. All of that came out of essentially this scientific analysis and relationship that then developed into someone being like, well, I want things to be different and I'm going to use this equation to get there. And of course, I'm glossing over a lot of technical aspects and problems and why that's harder than it seems, but that's the engineering part of it, you know, but it's that will to basically change the nature of, you know, today is sort of where engineers sit. And so for me, that's the big way of kind of understanding the difference between engineering and science. And again, like if you're not familiar with that equation and you're not familiar with the algebraic manipulations or any of that, you can learn all that. You will learn all that. The core of it is that engineers are exerting their kind of will on the world and being a little bit, you know, unsatisfied with the way things are. So that's just, I think, a good way of kind of describing the difference. Any comments or questions that came out of that? The other thing I really want to talk about is that there's a lot of different ways to solve the same problem. So this is Joanne's favorite example, and I'm going to use it as well. These are glasses, right? These are eyeglasses. And so if we look at something like this, if there was only one kind of way of solving the problem of sight problems or sight deficiencies or however you want to think about it, there would only be one kind of object that basically satisfies all these needs. But we have different styles of glasses. We have different kinds of glasses. We have bifocals or graded lenses so that you have a variety of magnifications. You have astigmatism correction. You have hard contact lenses. You have soft contact lenses. And so part of there isn't a one-to-one relationship between problem and solution. There's a many-to-one relationship. You can have one problem and many solutions. And oftentimes it is through that, the multitude of solutions that are attempted and those that are successful where we pick our best designs and where things start to gain traction in the world. And sometimes the reason why something takes off, some piece of technology, is about timing. It's about a whole bunch of different things, you know. So you can go back and find technology that was discovered and then rediscovered and then rediscovered, and then finally it finds its time and place and is successful. How many of you have something like this? All right, yeah, I see a lot of them out there. You know the glass on the front of your phone? Does anybody know? I mean, there's different, at this point, there's different glasses, but does anyone know the kind of trade name for the glass that sits on the front of a phone?
Isn't it like Gorilla Glass 3 or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's at least Gorilla Glass 3. I think they're evolving it. But the very first Gorilla Glass is a kind of glass that was designed actually in the 1960s by a company called Corning. And scientists and engineers discovered this process of making a glass that, I don't know how far I want to get into the technical aspects, but basically what they do is they force atoms into the surface of the glass, which puts the surface of the glass into compression. And compression, remember, is squeezing something. So, you know, when you have a crack in something, you can, or a tear, right? It's the process of pulling it apart. That will be, you know, if you take two objects like, I don't know, here's stuff I have right in front of me. I have a multi-plug and a phone, right? These are, you know, these are kind of stuck together and it's easy to pull them apart, but I can't push them through each other. So what happens is that glass is designed so that there's already compressive stress in the surface of the glass, so it resists cracking. But again, the story is that, you know, this glass was discovered in the 1960s. It was put on a shelf and they were like, wow, that's cool, but we can't think of what to do with it. And then the story, and you know, these are always probably amplified by just the beauty of the story, was that the CEO of Corning and Steve Jobs were having lunch and Steve Jobs pulled his phone out and his glass was all scratched because he was frustrated by like, I want this thing to be in my pocket. And they're like, you know, actually we have something for that. So, you know, just kind of that there's a time and a place for everything. And I wanted to, if you go into your book, for those who have it, and you look on Appendix B, which is on page 309, there's 21 different definitions of engineering here. And I'll just read a couple of them. So the application of science to the common purpose of life. This is from Count Rutherford in 1799. Engineering is the art of directing the great sources of power in nature for the use and convenience of man. That was Thomas Treadgold in 1828. So, you know, that's a very human-centric view of the world that probably is not as culturally appropriate anymore. Like, we kind of realize that man has to live in harmony with nature. And so the idea here is that as time goes by, things sort of evolve. Then we have here, I'm kind of skipping a bunch of them. Engineering is the conscious application of science to the problems of economic production. So again, that's a period of time. That was from 1910 from H.P. Gillette. Does anybody know who H.P. Gillette is?
Did he make
The razor guy?
Yeah.
I think it's the razor guy. But remember, that was like during the, you know, that was like 1910 was right when, you know, cars started to go into production and, you know, mass production and that whole thing. Like, it takes on the character of the age. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want you to understand that you are not, an engineering career is not you basically falling into some rigid mold. You are engineers and you will change the engineering field, and you can stretch it and push it and get it to create the world that you want. We're going to do a section in this class on ethics, and one of the things that you'll find in ethics, codes of ethics for engineers as we've moved on, is they become much, much more conscious of the need to have systems that are sustainable, that it is important for engineers to not just think like, what is the profit margin in 3 months when the quarter ends, but to think, is there even going to be a you know, like the world that we recognize in 20 years and 50 years and 100 years and in 200 years. And we're starting to recognize as a group that engineers need to think beyond just any of these simple definitions. And so all I'm trying to share with you is that engineering is dynamic, and engineering has a place for many different opinions, many different mindsets, and you can help define engineering and what it becomes. So where you see something in engineering that doesn't seem like doesn't fit with you, doesn't fit with your worldview, then it's time to change the engineering field, not time for you to conform to the engineering field. And I guess the last thing I want to just say is that one of the great, I don't know, one of the things that I just find so awe-inspiring about science in particular, engineering is a little different because of the will aspect, but science, the promise of science is that it doesn't matter who you are. If you look for the relationship PV equals nRT in the world, you will find it. You will find it whether you're male, female, trans, gay, straight, whatever. None of those things matter to the way the world functions. It also doesn't matter if you're human. I expect that if an alien species, whenever we finally meet our first alien species, they'll be like, what, PV equals nRT? Yeah, us too. And they're like, you know, that's where we're gonna find commonality with any other set of beings that are exploring the universe. Because the universe, it sits sort of independent of us. So know that there is a sort of unifying aspect to this whole field, to the STEM field. It has space for you there, and you have something to contribute to it. And I hope that, you know, you find that in this class, and you find that at Cabrillo, that there's space for everyone to be successful. And reach out to people, connect with your peers, and if you want a different world, you can do it. And engineering is an awesome place to kind of construct a new world. All right, again, I think I will answer any questions, or try to answer any questions. Let's not be too arrogant, Carl. And then we'll move on to our next topic. Any questions out there? Okay. So I'm getting back to the agenda, and I think we really are going to have to skip that item about going through the fields for today.
Should we brainstorm them all?
Ooh,
Just
yeah,
put them up there?
Yeah. Just in the chat?
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead and try to, yeah, this will just be like a whoosh, a flood of, you know, type in every field of engineering that you've heard of or that you can imagine. And then I'll try to go through the chat log and consolidate it and remove duplication. But yeah, just go ahead, have at it. Whoa.
So awesome.
I think this is going to be like making microwave popcorn. It ends when the list stops moving. Ooh, I thought we were about to turn off the microwave.
Nice. It's that last 30 seconds where it goes a little, remember you wait till the pops, there's 10 seconds between pops.
Yeah. All right, I think we've had those seconds. So we'll go through that list and consolidate it. And then in the next few days or the next few class sessions, not really the literal days, we'll be exploring a lot of the different fields and making sure that you kind of see what each of them is like, what the work environment is like, kinds of companies, and give you an idea of the kind of variety that's out there. And there's a lot of variety. All right, so we do want to talk about the two sections. So we have two sections, as some of you I know probably came in off the wait list from, you know, the giant wait list that was on the first section of Engineering 5 into the second section. And I think technically they're 2 and 3. One got canceled, the technical stuff. But what we're asking is for a few people, around 6 people from section 2, if you could drop section 2 and enroll in section 3, that would allow us to have a more balanced classes. And the way the way things are going to move forward from here is we'll have maybe a few joined. Actually, I don't think we have any joined sections again or sessions until the end, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to, in each section, we'll go off and I'll be teaching one section. Preeti will be teaching one section, and we'll be doing different topics. So I will cover the same topics to both groups. Preeti will cover the same topics to both groups, but we're doing them in slightly different orders. But we're gonna ask for volunteers, basically, you know, if you have friends in another class or you don't really, you know, if there's people you met in their breakout room and you wanna just check in with each other and, you know, if we could have a few people move from one section to the other. We will deny requests to go from the small section to the big section. So just have the people move the other way.
I had a question.
Yes.
Do both sections meet at this class time?
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be affected. Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we could accommodate everyone. And since everyone was already planning on it being at this time, we'll just run them in parallel.
Okay.
And that also goes out to the, there's still 4 people on the wait list for section 2. So if you're here today, we're asking the waitlisted 4 people to also move to section 3. And yes, Jesus, if you're in section 2, you can move to section 3. We don't want everyone to move to section 3. So I guess if you are willing to move to section 3, could you type that into the chat? And that way we have a record of who's moving, and we don't want 9 people to move. Let's put it that way. We're only looking for about 5 or 6 to move. Okay. Okay.
I believe you guys can chat to each other if you, yeah. Okay, we have a couple here.
Yeah, I'm going to write those names down. Okay, so I have Nicholas Carr and I have Morgan.
Morgan, how do we pronounce your last name?
It's Oberly.
Oberly, okay.
Oberly.
Thank you both. Marcus, you think you're in section 3? I can double check that for you.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I transferred to it about three or 4 days ago.
Okay, great. Yeah, you're not in section 2. Thank you. Do we have a couple more people that are volunteering to move to section 3?
So do we just go on like the web advisor where we enroll in classes and then drop this section and then just register in section 3? Is that how we do it?
Yeah, I think so. Marcus, is that how it went for you?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, you just drop section 2 and then add into section 3, and it's pretty easy. So
Okay, cool. Thank you.
no problem.
Yeah, so one thing that's going to happen is if we have people drop section 2 and move into 3, the people on the wait list will automatically move into section 2. So we'd still be trying to even the 2 sections out. And this is really to your benefit because I think with even numbers in both sections, we'd only have about, I did the math, 29 students in each section. So those breakout rooms will be smaller, and the class as a whole will be more intimate. If you have questions, we'll be able to answer them better. You know, we'll be able to see all of you on the screen. And so it's really going to be beneficial to everybody in both sections if we can even out the number of people in each section. Thank you, Steve. I've got you for moving.
I have a question. I'm trying to join section 3 and it says I need to enter a valid authorization code in order to register.
Who's saying this?
Nicholas Carr.
All right, Nicholas, I will right now give you an authorization code to add into.
Okay, thank you.
Tina, you're in section 2. Thank you for moving to section 3. Okay. With Michelle signing up, we've got 6 people that are moving. So that's great. And I guess after the start of class, waitlisted students don't automatically move up. So great. Then it'll even everything out if the waitlist students go over. Perfect. Okay. So everyone on the waitlist,
I will add
Go ahead.
I'll add authorizations for all those people in the chat right now so that hopefully before you leave, you'll be able to register. And if, stick around if you can, so we make sure we get you enrolled at, and figure out any problems. And I'll try to do all that right now.
Great.
Behind the scenes.
So the last thing we wanted to go over before we break for the day, and I know there's only a few minutes left, is to talk about the homework. Oops, I think I did the wrong share. Your first homework assignment has already been posted up to both sections. And when you go into Canvas, you can go to the week 1 module and you'll see that there's an assignment there and you can click on that. And one thing I wanted to say is that this assignment covers chapter 1. And if you don't yet have the book, is this a scan-in, Carl, of the first chapter? I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Is it version 5 or 4? Or edition? I don't remember. Oh, wait, it says it right there. Let's see. 4th edition, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think it's close enough that you'll be fine. So go ahead and read that. And then there's a quiz that follows that up. And then what we'd like you to do is to think about what you've read. And this is really, a self-reflection. And then answer part B here, which is develop a list of 20 goals you would like to accomplish in your lifetime. And these are broken out into, what are the goals you want to do in the short term? So maybe like this, immediate term this week, and then the short term this month, the long term in 1 year, the longer term in 5 years. So what is, just to get an idea out there, what is a long-term goal that many of you might have in this class, as an example?
I have a question.
Your bachelor's degree?
Yes, that your bachelor's degree, so that would actually be like a longer term goal that you might put there. The long term goal that would precede something like a bachelor's degree is transferring to a college that will award a bachelor's degree. So that's kind of an example of how you would break your goals up like that. Someone had a question, and I'd like to answer that. Oops. Is it in the chat? Do all of the goals have to be academic? No. In fact, this is, again, a self-reflection of you and what you want to achieve. So of course not. I'm sure your life has many different facets to it. So these are goals that can be very personal too. So maybe your longer term goal is to get married. You can certainly put that there. Or maybe that's your immediate goal, wherever it falls. That's totally dependent on how what you want to achieve. So anyways, we want you to come up with goals, and we want you to categorize them by when you want them to take place, and really think about it. Then part C here is, so in this reading, and Carl, I know these page numbers correspond to edition 5. Are they the same in edition 4? Did you know?
Probably not.
Okay.
I think I have a copy of edition 4 here, and I will try to dig it up and make sure that I have the both reading in 5th and 4th.
Okay, thank you. But it's what we're looking at is the page where you see the word ABET. Yeah. ABET. So if it doesn't quite line up with the page numbers listed here because you're using the scanned in version, just go to the right page, and then they have a list there, and we'd like you to put that list into 2 headings. So break up the list. And then the last piece of this is a time management piece. And this is actually something that's very interesting. And I'm sure many of you have done this before, but it's always good to reflect back on it, especially when you start a new semester or a new school or something new in your life, and you understand, that you have so many hours in the week, or so many hours in the day. How are you going to spend them? And so we've provided a worksheet here for you to fill out. And let me click on it so you get an idea of how this works. So when you click on it, for me, it's downloading, but then it'll open, and then you can actually just type in, and it does the math here. So really think about, how many hours do you sleep each night? If I were to fill this out, it would probably be like 7 or 8. How many hours do you work every week? And this is like, your job, part-time job or something like that. How many hours are you in class? And fill this out so you get an idea of like where your time goes. And note down here that we've included a formula for the classes you take. So again, we had given you this formula earlier on today about like how to multiply the number of credit hours by the number of hours outside of the week that you need to work. So you can do an estimate of that. And I think it'll be enlightening to figure out, where your time goes and how you can make it work to make sure that you achieve all your goals in the short term, the immediate term, based on the time you have. So then we've asked you to upload that. And so what I wanted to get to, well, a couple things. So there's always a rubric that you can see how many points each part is worth. So that's available to you. And the other piece is that when you're ready to submit the assignment, the Submit Assignment button is up here. Now the quiz will automatically be submitted, but these extra pieces that we're asking you to do. So developing your goals and breaking up this list and the time management piece. You can upload those in this section here. And you can upload, if you make a mistake, you can always replace a file, or I think it just adds on, but you can go ahead and upload your files here and then hit submit assignment. I do believe that we put some guidelines earlier on that we would like this to be typed, right, Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also it looks like you can also, if you don't want to type it on an outside program and upload it, you can come here and you can type right into the text box your answers as well. Just say part B and submit that, and then part C and submit that. You can do that way as well. Or you can use Google Drive, and there's actually a direct link to upload from Google Drive here. Are there any questions on how to submit your homework, or how to take a quiz or anything?
This is through modules, correct?
This is through the module, yes. You can link to everything in the module.
And there's a question about multiple files. I think you should be able to submit multiple files at the same time.
Yes, you can submit multiple files.
The other thing I just want to mention, we're building these automatic quizzes that do automatic grading, and
yes.
some of the quizzes are a little bit, they'll ask you for a word, and if you misspell the word or you add an S or anything, it might reject that and tell you got the answer wrong. So we'll go back through, and if you think like you got unfairly graded by the computer, we will help you out. We'll let you know what's going on there. So we'll try to make a pass through, and as you guys work on it, we'll add more answers to ensure that, you're helping us QA our product. Does anybody know what QA means?
Quality assurance.
Quality assurance.
Yeah. And in fact, one person had already noted a problem they ran into, and they emailed us, and then we took a look at it. So if you do run into a problem, let us know. Someone asked when this is due. So I wanted to show you a couple things in Canvas. First of all, in the module, if you note the date underneath the assignment and the quiz, those are the due dates. And the amount of points that they're worth is right next to that. I also believe that if you go to your home page on the right, it should be giving you deadlines that are set. So here's also a direct link to your homework assignment, and there's the due date, and there's a direct link to the quiz and the due date. And we also had an icebreaker where we asked you to post as a discussion this week. So that's also there. So couple places that is available. Last thing is if you have a calendar, the calendar function may also show you what is due. And I'm not sure. Oh, this is crossed off because I clicked on it and it assumes I did it. So, any other questions? Someone asked, is it all right if we don't have the book right now? Yes. Again, the first chapter is uploaded to that assignment page so that those of you who are still waiting for the book can get started on the homework.
Yay, we have a dog visitor.
He's driving me crazy. He just wants to go play right now.
I was actually playing fetch with my dog during the break.
I was playing fetch with him during the instruction. Yes. He's a crazy puppy. He's like 10 months and he's full of energy.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a crazy age.
Yeah, my 9-year-old dog can't put up with him all the time. So yeah, I try to help out.
Yeah, Zoom bombing, pets Zoom. Wait, what am I trying to say? Pets are welcome on Zoom. There we go. That's what I wanted to say.
You might see more of them. I have 3 cats running around here too, so don't mind it.
So I think we're at the end of the class. What did I want to say? Oh, okay. Yes, it's okay if you don't have the book right now. We've uploaded chapter 1 to the assignment page, and you can download the PDF of it and read it. I was asked to repeat that. So I was saying that we are at the end of class, and just wanted to remind anybody that came in late to type your name into the chat so we have record of you being here. Also wanted to let you know that I will be with section 2 next week, and we'll be discussing engineering disciplines. And I think, Carl, you'll be with section 3 next week. Yeah. And
we're
we'll
gonna
be
do a materials project.
right. And we'll be switching off like that for the rest of the semester. So one week I'll be with section 2, and the next week Carl will be with section 2. And the Canvas sites will look identical for both. So, you know, just based on what material you're covering that day, it might be a little different, but the homework will proceed exactly the same for both sections, and the quizzes will proceed exactly the same. I think that's all we have, unless there are questions. Carl?
I was just going to say, if you know of friends that missed today or were affected by the fires or anything like that, encourage them to come, you know, still join the class. It's not too late. We have a recording. They can catch up. So if you have friends that were affected in any way, like, there's still time to participate. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. And if anybody needs help getting enrolled or registered, just, well, I'll stick around for a bit.